So,
All right, we are reconvening from our closed session, 6:32. Announcements of items to be discussed during closed session. Government Code 5, approval of the settlement agreement and general release between Washington Unified School District and parent for 2024-2025 school year, 3-1 for approval. Approval of the tort claim number 638477, unanimously approved. And Government Code Section 5495, wait, do that again. Unanimously approved the recommendation from Keenan. Sorry, thank you. And Government Code Section 54957.6, information received. All right. And so now we'll begin with our Indigenous land acknowledgement, which I have here. So we acknowledge the land currently occupied by Washington Unified School District as a traditional home of the Patwin people. These sovereign people have been caretakers of the area since time immemorial. Despite centuries of genocide and occupation, the Patwin people continue as vibrant and resilient, federally recognized and unrecognized tribes, bands, and rancherias. Today, we honor and recognize our Patwin tribal neighbors for their contribution as the caretakers of the Sacramento Valley and honor their sustained existence. With their blessing and continued guidance, Washington Unified School District seeks to provide an accessible, equitable, and supportive institution of learning and experience. I just realized I went out of order on something, but it's all good. Yeah. So now for our Pledge of Allegiance, and President Gandara, will you please lead us? To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it's one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. And roll call, and we're going to do Vice President Pizzotti.
here.
Trustee Wong. Here. Trustee Venegas.
Present.
As mentioned earlier, Clerk Kirby Gonzalez will be absent at this meeting, and I too am present. I had already made the announcements of the actions taken in closed session, so I will skip that part. And so now the next is any amendments or changes to the agenda. Are we good? No changes.
I might have. I would like to, you know what? Never mind. I was just going to say I wanted to pull item number 5 from. Now I'm thinking. Is this? I'm trying to see if it is. It's not action. It's consent, right?
Well, there's no 5 on consent.
Okay, so then it would. Never mind. I wouldn't pull it.
Okay.
I'll have the opportunity to talk on it. I thought it was on consent, so I wanted to be able to talk on it.
All right, so are we good with the,
I move.
all right,
I second.
all right. Trustee Venegas moves, trustee Wong seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
And I, do we? No. I was like, I didn't carry her in
You're
today.
not here. You're here. You're not video. I got you. I'm sorry.
All right, we're good. It's been a long day for a lot of us, so apologies.
I'm out of it. I'm sorry. My bad. I see you.
As far as, there are no communications or celebrations. Association reports. CSEA, President Gandara.
Good evening, President Coffey, Superintendent Hildreth, and Cabinet.
I just want to talk about a few things tonight. First thing I want to talk about is the budget stability plan. I know at the last board meeting, the adoption of I can't even think of it.
The budget.
The budget. It was mentioned by Trustee Pizzotti if we're still going to do a budget stability plan for this upcoming school year. And Ms. Stovall said yes. So I want to recommend again that that is a committee with district, classified, I can't speak for Doug, but I will, certificated staff, or WSTA, CSEA. You know, I feel that for clarification, when we talk about budget stability, we're talking about eliminating positions, and classified members should be in that conversation. Or classified should be in that conversation because we are the ones who usually take the biggest impact in layoffs, and we take up the least amount of the budget. So I think a committee would be warranted, and I'm recommending that the board give that direction. The next thing I want to talk about is classified professional development and out-of-state conferences. I know the last couple board meetings, it's been put out there about out-of-state travel conferences. But I'm asking that the board give I know it was just a topic of conversation, but are we doing out-of-state travel and conferences or not? I need that to be clear because I need to relate to my members that directive and that we are not, don't even look at out-of-state conferences if that's what we're doing. And I need that to be consistent across the board from management on down. The last thing, or the second to last thing I want to comment on is the benefits committee. I want to thank Ms. Stovall, Ms. Borges, Farah, Doug back there, because he shows up to them. I really see the district wanting to try to find the best deal possible for the high cost and medical benefits. So I really want to thank you guys for having these meetings. We haven't had this amount of meetings ever, really. I mean, so I really want to thank you guys for that. The last thing I want to talk about is, you know, it's that time of year, school board candidates. So in closing that, I want to thank all the school board candidates who have reached out to me for interviews for CSEA's nominations. And I really think this year, CSEA and Riverview 168, I think we're really going for, I think we need to really look at what the school board should be and what their focus should be. And I think we're going away from that. I think what we want to do is we need to come back to students first, classified and certificated staff, and all staff. But I got to put my classified first. Second. But I really think we're moving away from that. We're becoming too much like the government, really. And we have other agendas and other goals outside of what the board should be. And I think that's going to be our biggest focus when we interview our candidates is, what is your agenda? What is your goal? Why do you want to run? Is it for the district and the betterment of the students and the staff? Or is it for what is going to happen after you're a school board member? What am I looking for in future? How can it benefit me as a person? And I think we need to get back to the students and the staff. So I just want to put that out there. And I know a few have reached out to me. And again, I'll put this out there. If you are a school board candidate, reach out to me. I'm not going to reach out to you guys. You guys know how to get a hold of me, whoever you guys are, wherever you guys are. So with that, I want to thank you guys. And I'm looking forward to just another school year. I know it's going to start here with all staff and students in a few weeks, and I'm looking forward to it, and it's going to get really busy, but I look forward to it. Thank you guys. Have a good evening.
Thank you. And now our WSBA report. President Knapp.
Well, I guess I have to put certificated first. Good evening, trustees and cabinet. I'm not gonna, I know you, so I'm not gonna go through each of you one at a time tonight. First of all, I want to take a second to thank Shay Borges for her collaboration, and getting to know Shay has been fantastic. And I'm looking forward to continuing the positive working relationship that WSTA has had with HR, and acknowledging Farah's hard work and her dedication as well as we move forward. It's all good signs so far. Makes me feel hopeful in anticipating some more IBB interaction. I want to reiterate what my colleague Daniel said about the budget stability plan, and once again bring up IBB, because one of the things that WSTA has consistently mentioned is that if we're going to continue with IBB, and particularly when we're talking about salary and benefits, we have to be a part of the conversation when it comes to budgeting. And so I want to reiterate Daniel's request for committee work so that we can all look at it and we can all give our input and have positive interaction as we go into challenging budgetary times. I also, you're going to be able to tell from my presentation tonight that Daniel and I talk quite a bit. I want to talk a little bit about the role of the board. And first of all, I always want to give credit where credit is due. So for the previous several years, I've really come down hard on the board for not giving due diligence to students and teachers and becoming a feedback loop for the cabinet and the district in general. And I want to say that I've seen really positive changes this year from teachers asking for a SPED task force and the board giving directions for a SPED task force. So we felt heard, and that was great, and that work is being done. Also with the community schools resolution, once again, it is great to feel heard and feel like my members are represented and listened to. So I think we still have some work to do in remembering that the board has, and the district has, the unique opportunity to discuss things with you in closed session that we do not have, and it takes a lot of coordination and planning for us to have discussions because we have to set up either 2x2s or conversations outside, so we don't get that luxury that the district has. But to remind the board that you are representatives of your constituency, and your constituency is really represented by students and teachers. And we're glad that you work for you work with WUSD and you work with the cabinet, and we were glad that you work with the superintendent, but remind you where your service lies, and I know you know that deep down. But sometimes when the infrastructure emphasizes conversations in one area, we all have to make an effort to make sure conversations happen in the other areas so that we're representing everybody. And again, I want to acknowledge that I've seen that this year. Let's make some more steps in that direction. I have been having conversations, so as we work towards IBB and having mutual trust in regards to budgets, one of the things that we have to do is we have to get out of the cycles of playing our parts in looking at future budgets and looking at negotiations. And we all know that one of the areas that this happens in a lot is in the enrollment discussion, right? And what enrollment numbers look like. And I will tell you, going back for as far as I can remember, and I know part of this is planning, right? Because we want to prepare for the worst, but I will tell you that our enrollment numbers have never been as doom and gloom as we project them to be. And this makes it challenging for my representatives to represent teachers when it's constantly, our enrollment is going to be down so far, we are not going to have the money to do A, B, and C. And it always turns out that the enrollment isn't at that point. So as we're looking to have honest discussions regarding IBB, I think we need to have an honest conversation about enrollment. And maybe that just means the cabinet explains to labor how enrollment projections happen. Because maybe we don't know. I mean, it could be that we have to plan for the worst case scenario, but I will tell you what it looks like from my membership is that before we negotiate every time, whoa, the enrollment numbers come out and it looks awful. And then the next year, it doesn't go unnoticed that the enrollment numbers are much better than they were projected to be the year before, and this is consistent. So maybe we have to have contingencies in bargaining that says, you know, kind of like we do when we're discussing COLA, where if enrollment is A, then B, but if enrollment is B, then C, and we have contingencies in our bargaining. We'd like not to do that because we'd like to have an honest discussion from the beginning, but that's part of the IBB process. So I'm just kind of putting that out there. WSTA understands the condition of the district office and the concerns for our members there, for CSEA members there, and for administration that's housed there. And we have concerns, but we also have concerns for fiscal responsibility. And we're concerned about the idea of a 10-year lease at River Point. And we have some questions. I decided not to bring this up on this item, but one of our concerns is if we are going to get rid of Clarendon and the YOLO and the district office property, which is our understanding that's part of the contingency here, where do we build after 10 years? Are we looking at Alice Norman? Where are we looking? And then what happens to YCCA if we do that, and those kinds of questions. We want to make sure that we're not giving away free money. Like if we have facilities, and I know you guys have worked on possible land swaps and things such as that, but leases are challenging because we're paying a lot of money that we never see any return on. And we're talking about, you know, a school district where we want to make sure that as much of the money as possible goes into per pupil funding. And so I'll be anticipating hearing more about that. I'd like to reiterate what Daniel said about healthcare. It has been really heartening to have discussions with Shay and especially Monique regarding alternative plans moving forward for healthcare. I can tell you that WSTA is in discussions with Yolo County certificated members, Winters, Woodland, about possibly forming a JPA to try and handle this, but that's a long-term solution. But I'm really glad that we're not all just taking our broker for granted and what our broker tells us for granted, and we're looking at Checkers, which is named something else. I don't know why I can never remember their new name, but they're named something else now. But we're looking at other possibilities, and we're looking at fiduciaries as opposed to brokers, because it is sacred. Healthcare, well, first of all, our employees' finances are sacred. And when you're on that committee, it's a very big responsibility. But healthcare is sacred. And we owe it to ourselves and our members and to the process of searching for equity to make sure we're making the right decisions, even if it's hard for some of us. So we have to look at things like, is it equitable to have an opt-out for healthcare? Is it equitable to allow our employees to leave the pool so that they can get healthcare elsewhere because it costs less for them, but then the rest of our employees suffers? Our members are looking at that. Our WSTA is looking at that, but we appreciate the district's collaboration in this process because it's going to take all hands on deck to continue to work on this problem. Okay. I don't necessarily have a fundamental problem with out-of-state training if it's serving our students. However, when we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to send people to conferences out of state, we need to make sure that they're bringing the knowledge and information that they get from these conferences back to our teachers. Otherwise, not only does it feel to taxpayers kind of like a fun trip to Colorado or Florida, it feels to our teachers like what's going on. Now, I have heard nothing but great things about Unbound Ed. I would have hoped that last year during our PL days, we would have heard a lot about Unbound Ed there, and the teachers would have been representing. So unlike some folks that you've heard come to the board before that are just really irritated about out-of-state conferences, if that's where the learning needs to happen, if that's where the program is that we need, that's where we need to send people. But it needs to be disseminated in the district when we send people there. It needs to be purposeful. We need to know, and there's a responsibility here. This is one of those weird things about politics, but if we spend the money on it, you need to make sure people know how you're using it. Not just that you're using it, but we have a public responsibility to say, you know, it's like when we drive on the road and it says this road project is being funded by measure blah, 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 and the public gets to know. We have responsibility here to tell the public, yes, we spent this money on this, and this is why, and this is where we're using it, and this is where we plan to use it in July, well, in September, October, November. Like, this is how we're using that money. So I just want to make sure that we have full disclosure on that. And here's the last thing, and this has nothing to, this is kind of a mutual thing. I was at a site representative meeting last year, and we do a land acknowledgement at our site representative meetings, which I really think is important, and I'm so glad you do. But when I was at the meeting, someone asked me what I knew about the Patwin people. And I was like, well, I've just been saying the land acknowledgement. I think we need to do more. I'm going to look in my organization to do more, but maybe we can, at a school board meeting, ask some representatives that are in our district of the Patwin people to come and talk a little bit about what it is like to be here as a Patwin person and what it feels like, and maybe help us understand how we can better represent our Indigenous people here in West Sacramento, instead of just doing the land acknowledgement, and I need to do the same. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. All right, and so now we are going on to our public comments. And before I do so, I have a disclaimer.
President Coffey, there are no public comments at this time.
Oh, there are none. So I guess I don't need to read a disclaimer.
Sure do.
Throw me off on my feels here. Now I gotta go, okay, that's fine. No, I don't. Should I read it anyway for later? You know what, I'm gonna do it just because it's part. Just in case, so I don't have to read it later. Watch me not have to read it at all. No matter. All right, so at our regular board meeting held on February 9, 2023, the board resolved that written public comments received by 3 p.m. on the day of the meeting will be provided to the board but not read into the record during the meeting. Members of the public may address the board on the topics of our board agenda during every meeting. In addition, during regular meetings, the public may also address any topic within the jurisdiction of the board. Please know the board is listening to your comments, but by law cannot meaningfully respond in this forum to items not on the agenda. The board may limit the total time for public input on any topic to 20 minutes unless it waives its item limit for an item. Individual speakers may be limited to 3 minutes to comment on any topic. The board respects the rights of members of the public to speak regarding matters within its jurisdiction. However, please recognize that comments regarding students other than the speaker's own children made during the public board meeting may be a violation of the student's right to privacy, and thus the speaker may be legally liable. If you reference a student's name other than your own student, you may be deemed out of order. Furthermore, it is important for the public to understand that negative or derogatory comments made against district employees or others, even those made in a public board meeting, may be actionable civil defamation. Although the board may not prohibit such comments, board policy allows the public to lodge complaints against district employees, providing more opportunity to be heard than is allowed under the open meeting law that governs this meeting. And if there are no public comments, we will go ahead and move on to the next agenda item. So no public hearing, information, discussion items. For the first one, Washington Unified School District Office Facility Update. Monique Stovall.
Good evening. This evening, we are providing an update on the the district office facilities project. In April, the trustees requested that we hire a consultant to assist us with this particular project. California School Inspections has been a consultant with us since April 2021 and has agreed to do the assessment. This evening, Mr. Bill McGuire is here to provide you an update on his assessment and the next steps.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank you for having me early in the agenda. Facilities are always last everywhere I ever go, so that's a very important part. The second thing, that the city council members' names are completely throwing you off, because I've seen many of you in many meetings, and I'm going like, that's not Norma. So anyway, members of the board, first of all, I just want to thank you for your public service. Right, being a board member is a difficult job, and a very difficult job in today's reality. And so what you do every day is important for the students and the staff and the community that you serve here. And it's a difficult time. Right now, I'm scheduled to be in 2 board meetings. I'm in a board meeting in Calaveras Unified School District where I'm the fiscal advisor for that district that was very close to going into receivership. Right, and an interesting thing, as a fiscal advisor, I have stay and rescind authority over that board for decisions that they make that would jeopardize their financial future because of the difficulties. So the work that you do every day, I know what it is, and I understand that fiscal responsibility that you face every day. I'm up here because Dr. Hildreth and Ms. Stovall have asked me to give you my thoughts and recommendations. And I don't come to you as an expert, but I come to you as a person with 40 years of experience, especially in facilities. With that, over my career, I've done $1 billion worth of school construction projects. Most of that in Clovis Unified School District, where we built $250 million high schools. I've bought and sold land from Clovis North Education Center to the Clovis South Education Center, which is currently under construction. I was the superintendent in St. Helena Unified School District, where we passed 2 bonds in 2 years because of the facility needs in that district. And I finished my career in Twin Rivers, where the North Lake School will be opening next week. And I was part of the negotiations with the district to get from the developer $41.5 million relative to that. I've sold property within Sacramento County, school property to get revenues for the district. So again, I'm coming to you with a person with a lot of experience, right? And what they asked me to do is give you my opinion, right? And I have been working with the district as a facility consultant and working with the facilities team and many people for 3 years. Interestingly enough, I worked with you during COVID and did your COVID readiness plan and worked to ensure that the students and the staff was safe coming back from COVID. So with all of that said, what I'm going to show you today is stuff you've already seen before. All of the information in which I will be talking to you about, you have seen before in some form or another, whether a board meeting, a update from the superintendent, except for the last one, which is my recommendation. So please indulge me as we go through, and certainly ask any questions as we make it through. So again, the health and safety concerns are of real issue. The staff input sessions that were conducted and that I led, and then options for the future recommendation. And it's definitely about this facility at where the district office is and that condition and what those future options are. And so looking at that, these were the things that we went through with the staff and that we want to go through with you. And you can see those 5 elements of the things that we brought forward to the staff and that we're bringing forward to you today. And the first one is the district master plan. And the master plan that was put together was in 2019. In that box, there was information provided to you and, not maybe you, but the board of trustees by the architectural firm that said the district office needed work and needed to have some improvements done to it. And you can see that list of improvements were there. This is not a new topic. And while every school is important, the district office and the places where people work are important as well. Of the board meetings that you had, we've gone through and we've looked at all of the different meetings that you've had related to this district office topic, as well as facility subcommittees. And I know that you have studied it in depth and that you have looked at all of the options. You have deliberated over the things that are important to our staff, to the board, and especially to the community as the individuals that will fund this along with the state of California. But one of the most important parts is that facility assessment. And that facility assessment of asbestos and rodent materials is significant, a cost of $1.1 million to resolve that. We had this exact problem at Grant Union High School district in Twin Rivers, and it cost us $1 million to resolve the problem, right? And that's a realistic amount of money to look at what you need to do to resolve these issues. Lead material and in water, we have issues that have been determined by outside sources, and this one has a amount to be determined to resolve that. Again, at Grant Union High School District, Grant Union High, we replace all of the piping because of lead issues within that building, right? For the safety and concern of the students and the staff relative to that. And then mold. And mold is an issue throughout schools in California, especially ones that are in disrepair, buildings that are in disrepair. And what we have to think about is that many people have super sensitivity in today's world. That super sensitivity is the canary for all the rest of the employees, right? And all of these factors have detrimental impacts on the district. And then this is an example of when I was going through the information, I was reading all of the reports and I saw these pictures and I went, oh my gosh, this is an issue, right? That we have to look at that. Now, the good news is the one on the right, that's a discontinued piping system, but it still goes somewhere into the building, right? The next one is the current piping, but it has asbestos on top. Insulation on top of it, right? So all of these things are health and safety risks for our staff, for our community. And I know that you would never let this happen at a school. This would not be acceptable at a school, right? But the same thing is true. Is it acceptable for the employees that work in this location, for the community, for you when you come to that location for a meeting? We also looked at the properties that we have in the district and what available options they are, and the district did a property appraisal, and you can see the current district office has an appraisal value of almost $5 million. Tomorrow, would you get $5 million for that property? I doubt it, right? But over time, within the right structure, within the right opportunities, you may get something close to that. I would never bank on every dollar of that, but I certainly know that you can sell that property and receive income over time. It may mean that you have to do certain things to the property to be able to do that. You may have to invest in it to get it. And then the Westfield Clariton, and you can see the dollar amounts associated with that. Again, could it be sold tomorrow? Probably not. Would you sell the whole thing? Probably not. Within that, in Twin Rivers Unified, we had school sites where we carved out different pieces of the school site and said, we need to keep this, but we need to sell this. So those options are available. It's not an either or. It's what do you want to do with the property you have, which makes the most sense for you. Again, if we have a bus yard and a maintenance facility, then we're going to carve that off, make sure that we have enough room for our future growth, and make sure that whatever that sale value also improves that facility. right? So there's a lot of options here. There's no black or white, this or that, as we think about it. And then really we went into the potential options that have been vetted by the district, and I use those potential options as the Stone Boulevard, as the Park at River Point, the STIRS building, the current district office, and then Clairton. And we really kind of went through each one of those. And I know you have talked about those, you have debated those, and with that, and the staff has some concerns about all of that and what it means to them, as you would think any staff member in any entity would. And so we conducted the district office forums and department forums. On May 30th, we did the same thing that we're doing here, and we brought everybody in the district office in to hear what their voice was in relationship to this. And we went through thoughts and questions and more information and wondering, and we got all of that, we documented it, and then we followed up with what more questions do you have, what more thoughts do you have. We had them rank the options so that every person had a voice in the situation, because you can't do it all. As a public entity, you cannot do it all. You must prioritize what you're going to do. And what we're doing is working on placing what is the most important item for each individual. Not a collective wisdom by the loudest voice in the room, but each individual having their voice heard, right? And then you can see where those decisions came. And you've seen all of that information. All this is summarizing that information. Make and communicate clear decisions. Ensure confidentiality in the workspace, develop a comprehensive long-term plan, address fiscal concerns, and improve working conditions. That was what that group said. We then took it down to individual departments and said, of the things in which we heard, are those things important to you? And we asked very specific questions for your department. Do you agree with the comments from the entire district office? Do you agree that these things are important to you? Or are there individual concerns that you have relative to your individual department? And you can see this across all of those three departments, not all of those, three departments, right? Urgent need for decisive action because there are concerns. Making firm decisions, addressing safety, confidentiality, all was the same thing, and planning long-term. A strong desire for the board to understand the daily challenges and the resolution of these issues. This was written by ChatGPT. ChatGPT, we put all of that information in relative to every comment that was made during those meetings, and this is what ChatGPT summarized for us so that it wasn't me putting my editorial standard on it, it wasn't anybody else, it was, let's use AI today, what does it say from the comments that were recorded by the individuals that we met with? And in every department, it was the same as the district office, a cohesive voice across there. And then you can see the different items. And the one that really resonated was the impact of employee morale and professional image. And that for the people that you're hiring, for the people that you work with, your district office symbolizes who you are. When you're interviewing staff, that tells them whether they want to come here or if they want to go across the river to Twin Rivers. It tells them who you are. And then again, this idea of long-term planning. Any decision you make can't be 1 year, 2 year, or 3 year, because these are big decisions. So we also then looked at the fiscal analysis of each one of these, and through the help of Mr. Banowitz and the architects and the engineers that you have, we've got estimates, current estimates that you can see for the district office modernization. It would be $26.8 million. You know that you have a $150 million bond. You've spent about $100 million of it. You got 50 left. That would take half of it, right? That would take half of that remaining money, which would be half of a auditorium, a performing arts center at River City. I don't think that's acceptable. We look at this, the Clareton site, to bring that up would be almost 20 million. Again, these numbers are large numbers. There's no matter how you look at it, are large numbers, but realistic in today's construction economy. And we looked at the leases. What do people want to know, what do these leases cost and how much are they? What's the impact? You heard that. We're concerned this is going to take away from our salaries and benefits, right? Those are solutions you're going to make. These are decisions you have to make and expenditures you're going to have to make no matter what you do. So in Park Stone property, you can see the dollar amounts there, you can see the improvements, and it's the key factor, it's on the second floor, right? And at $2.35, you're going to get $1.3 million of improvement. River Point, $37,000, important feature, it's on the first floor. $2.10, you can see it's, $1 million a year, and it's $888,000 of improvements that you're going to get there, and includes a lot of services, ample parking. The CalSTRS building, great building, would support our teachers' retirement system if you rented there. It's on the 10th floor, right? It has a great $2 per square foot. It's $600,000, but it's on the 10th floor. And that's a big deal for your community, for coming in and finding you. You can see the issues there, and you got to pay for parking on a per month. Another key feature for you is your certificate of participation that you have, and the payments that you're making and when those payments end. So prior board has included these debt service payments for you that are going to go through 2039. $1 million is going to come off very soon in 26, 625,000 in 29, 632,000, and you can see the dollar amounts there, and then the final equation in that 30s equation. So again, a funding source that you're already spending that is going to become available. So with all of that, Dr. Hildreth and Monique said, Bill, we know all these other things have happened. We have our ideas, but please bring to the board what you think, right? And that's what I'm doing. And honestly, if you don't like it, it doesn't hurt my feelings, right? It doesn't hurt my feelings because this is what I do for a living, right? And I give my best recommendations because that's how people work with me, right? And a lot of people work with me because of the recommendations I make. And most of the time, they turn out really well, right? So of that, I'm recommending a 10-year lease at River Point, right, by September of 24. Why 10 years? Because we have to have a long-term solution, and no district in the state of California is going to make a great decision, tear down a building, build buildings, modernize buildings in a 3-year period. It will take much longer than 3 years. It will take a long-term plan to make this work. Look how long we've been talking about this, right? And when we talk about the whole thing, it's going to take time and energy to go through that. It will take time to sell the land, and you need to get started on that because that will tell you how much money you have to invest in your new district office and where you're going to do it. Looked off there. And then we have to start the long-term planning. How much room do you really need? What are your options for growth? We need to get an architect involved so that architect can do that planning and bring you those renderings and bring a cost estimate for what that's going to cost, right? And then put all that together into your plan so that you have a new district office on your property, which you own, and move back into that building in 10 years, in 2035. And we may, oh my goodness, Bill, 2035? 2035 will be here before you know it. 3 years will be here before you know it because of all the things that you have to do as a board to just run the schools that you have, to just do the work you have, to focus on student achievement and not worrying about health and safety for the staff. and the community that comes into the building. So again, those are my recommendations based upon all of the information that I have reviewed. And I want to thank Dr. Hildreth and Monique for allowing me this opportunity and actually giving me like free rein and said, we don't want to influence you, Bill. We don't want the board's prior actions to influence you. We don't want our opinions to influence you. This is your decision to bring to the board, and that's what I've done today. And you will decide where you go from here. This is an information item only, but based on all the things that I've heard from the district office staff, I would encourage you to make a decision quickly, because that is important morale issue for the district office staff, for the people that come there. And guess what? They affect a lot of people, right? They affect a lot of people, in my opinion. All right? So I'm here for any questions that you might have, or I'll go home. Your choice.
Well, don't go home yet. Do we have any public comments? All right, are there any comments or questions from the board? Jackie, you want you to go first.
Okay.
Okay, somebody.
All right, so I've got a laundry list, so you might be a minute. You kind of answered the last question. Basically, nobody influenced your decision about previous actions by the board. Because the previous action by the board was we rejected a 10-year proposal already. So if you already know that, then you know that the idea of a 10-year proposal was not palatable to this board under any circumstances, under any, any presentation. This is just optimal, in your opinion, right? The optimal presentation. This is what you would, right?
Correct. If I was your staff, this is a recommendation I would make, and if I was you, this is what I would vote for.
Okay. So questions that I have, I'll just kind of start when they come up. Are the wings that we have these pictures shown, are they being used right now?
Yes.
I was told that they, yeah, I thought we moved people out of them. I was told that that was the case. We moved people out of those wings.
There are people, the business office has moved out, but I also know that there's a variety of other people who say these exact same things are in their location.
Okay. Well, then that's going to add more questions to the list. More of staff safety that was not reported to us in terms of this. From what I understood, the staff were safe and were in adequate working conditions for the time being. And if that's not the case, then I think we need to know that.
Well, I think that's subject to your interpretation.
Not my interpretation. I'm not there.
No, when you say they're in adequate workspace, I don't believe they're in adequate workspace. When it rains, it floods. It floods outside the building. When it rains, it leaks. The windows don't close. The building is hot and cold. It is not a place in which it is acceptable for employees to work, in my opinion.
Okay. That's different than what we were.
The health and safety of employees, in many cases, is in the eye of the beholder. And
Agreed.
I am not in their seat, and I am not in yours. I am in mine.
Okay, and I agree with that. So what you did make a comment on investing into the property in order to get full value or even come close to the market rate value, right? So it will take a certain amount of capital on our end to get to a place where we can sell these properties. Do you know what that number is?
Well, the first thing I would do is raise the property, right?
Is what?
Raise it. It's called demolish it, right?
Okay.
Which is going to
So
help
basically
you.
sell it for land.
Sell it for land, right? Because anybody else would have to make those and same improvements for $20 million, which no one's probably going to do on a school old school that's 50-plus years old. So the good news is the demolition of a building or a school site is not millions of dollars. It's $100,000. We've done a lot of demolition in Twin Rivers of facilities which we were going to sell, and the first thing we did was demolish the building to clear the land, and not to a super pad ready level, just cleared the land,
Right.
cleared the building.
So what's the square footage of the space being used at the district office?
I have no idea.
Monique, do you know? Or DB or anybody? No? I'm saying because the district, the reason, okay, what I'm looking at, a couple of different things. The district office modernization is of 58,000 square feet. If our footprint, like our utilization footprint is really only 27,000 square feet, modernizing 58,000 square feet doesn't really need to happen, right? You can modernize a certain section of that and demolish the other half, or do whatever you want with it, right?
Right, I would
Potentially.
want an architect to help me with that, not just,
Again, I'm just saying,
Throw it out.
but you don't necessarily need to do all 58,000, which is estimated at 20 million.
correct.
That's kind of where I was going, more than anything. The other thing would be the same as Clarendon. Clarendon's 55,000 square feet. You know, how much of that would we need to actually modernize to be used as a district office? You know, so if our actual number is 27,000 square feet or 30,000 square feet, then maybe
That
we don't
number is
need
going to
it.
be lower, yes.
Yeah, so
We'll
maybe.
concede- I'll concede that.
And this was, when this was presented to us before, the exact same questions come up, except for it was 15 million, right?
Mhm.
In the period of a year, it's gone up to 20 million. Right?
Yeah.
So what I think my point was, why would we want to potentially consider a number that is not what we would use?
Again, I think that the important part is making a decision and move forward with that decision with the knowledge that you have. If you want more information, then you would direct the staff to bring that more information
Right.
rather than not taking action at all.
Right. And then, so when we look at, and let me ask, maybe this is for Monique, what's the space size that we need?
So at this point, we've determined that we need 37,000 square feet at minimum. And that's for the staff that we have right now, just a little bit of growth.
Okay. And then, so the question then comes to me, I look at Parkstone, we get more improvements. Yes, the cost per square foot's a little bit more, but the rental per year is considerably less. First off, I don't like the idea of renting money or spending money on rent. I don't like that idea.
I don't think anybody does.
No, and good.
Right?
Good,
Why
I'm glad
would
agree
we
with
do that? We would
So-
expect that you would have the availability, the funding, and the long-term planning to be able to handle that. The problem is, we don't right now.
And that's actually getting to my point.
Mhm.
So in going through this motion, have we thought about the idea of teleworking to reduce the footprint to be able to use a 20,000 square foot space? Did you take that into consideration when you did your adjustments?
Those were comments that were made during the session and coming out of the pandemic, telecommuting and everything. But what you need to look at is what the reality of, you are a school district where the employees of the school are at work every day. The state of California is telling employees to come back to work. Companies throughout California who used to telework. I have a person who lives right next to me who came out of the Bay Area because, oh, it's great, I can telecommute. They just moved back into the telecommuting because that has ended for that high-tech company. And so our recommendation is, at some point, you need to have the space for your individuals that work here, just like the individuals who come every day to your school site.
Okay, well, I'm finding that not, okay, that's more of a contract negotiation issue, I believe, but I don't believe that to be true if we wanted to utilize it a smaller space, which is more affordable for us, especially when I think the idea of using Measure Z funds is completely off the table. Then you're looking
Let's
at.
make this clear, that was never in our recommendation.
No, I understand that, but you mentioned the Performing Arts Center and what that money's been earmarked for.
Sure.
So we need to be clear on that, this community has said,
You don't
These are
have
what
enough,
we wanna do.
don't interrupt.
Yeah.
You have more projects in the 3 than you have
Have
in your
money, right.
150 million, and you know that
right,
so well, all of you. And
Right.
I know that from the work that we do, and I hope you can get that Performing Arts Center the way you want it for the available money.
and part of that is going to be needing to use redevelopment money to supplement that. So that's the only way we're going to be able to get that done, is to do that. And maybe get partnerships with the city and, the community to help raise funds for that. But, I don't see how taking on, looks like one COP is falling off for about 600,000 annually. Taking on more debt is a good idea. I know from historical and an elective sort of way, many, well, not many, a couple of them, I can think of three school board members were unelected because of that. And I think that's probably the 2010. So I just wanted to say that this is, not what the community wants.
I think you misinterpreted what I said on the
Maybe I am.
the
I could be
COP.
wrong.
What I said was that debt payment falls off.
I got that.
Therefore, you have the ability to use the money you were paying on the debt and the interest for the properties that we're talking about, right? That frees up that source of revenue for your expenditures. Never did I say go into debt.
Or in a period in which we are going into budget stabilization, why would we want to do that? I mean, that's kind of more of a us question than, right? We're trying to save money, and nearly $700,000 a year is something that I would rather do towards employees' jobs rather than debt payment or towards rent.
And I'm going to go back to the recommendation I'm giving to you is about health and safety of your employees, about the image of your district, about the opportunities for the future. All those decisions you get to make. I just to
agree
give
with
you
that.
some great ideas.
And I'm making a public statement
Yeah.
here.
No, I know.
That I don't want to lose staff because of, payments that are going out to rent, because we have to make, some budget stabilization changes. I know the idea has been using RDA money to pay for things like, River Point. I don't think that's the smart move in terms of what we want to be using that for. We have enough problems that are needing fixing of our existing schools that could be used for, and supplementing our Measure Z. So I do appreciate you coming and giving your recommendations. My personal position is that I don't agree. We saw this exact recommendation about a year ago, just about, with a few more dollars attached to the properties, right? In terms of renovations, they were 15 million at a ballpark, and you're saying they're about 19-ish. So I get that, and I totally understand. The year passes and things go up, right? But in reality, where would where would we find a property at this point? If we sell Clarendon, if we sell the district office, which again provides another issue because there's some history with the district office, right? So if we sell those two properties to use to pay for some of this construction, where do we find property to buy and then build?
Every option that we bring to you, there can be 100 other options.
Right.
My only comment to you is make a decision and move on. And I honestly don't care what it is. And you're going to have to work out those details. I can't stand here and tell you that you could buy this property at this location or you could buy that property at that location.
Right.
If you want me to help you do that, I'm more than willing to do it. But I would, find a real realtor that knew what they were talking about.
And then I think my last point would be the option of doing a property swap. I thought we explored that. I'm not sure I recall what the results were. Is there still a possibility or not a possibility? It's no longer a possibility. Was that anything that was?
We talked about, I got the information that was a possibility, but then it wasn't a possibility, so we don't need to include it.
Okay.
I can tell you that there's a lot of people that will swap properties with you, governmental agencies, and everybody wants the school district property for nothing, right? And usually not a fair trade, but it's up to you. It's up to you to hold up your end of the negotiation process.
Okay, I'm good. Thanks.
I'm just going to make a couple comments and then maybe I come back with questions. First of all, thank you for your recommendations, for your time. I know Kobe, Trustee Pizzotti we were under the impression that they were in adequate conditions, working conditions, and let me just make it clear that my sense of urgency is safety and health of our staff. So this is more for our staff. That's where the sense of urgency of getting, the comments made about by August 2024, they should have been out of that building. Personally, the way I see it, simply because it's two conversations we're having. We're having dollars and savings versus health and safety. And I think when you're talking about both, you have to prioritize one over the other clearly. So any comments that I make is from the perspective of health and safety first. And we will have to deal with dollars and cents later, but we're dealing with one over the other, and it's two separate conversations, the way I'm seeing it. So just wanted to say thank you for your recommendation.
Thank you for your Bill's recommendation. I agree that 10 years was not something that we were ever entertaining, but clearly that's a Bill recommendation. And you hear me, you watch me stirring up here just because that's disgusting. What our staff, certificated and classified, are working in, and the sense of urgency, like they should not be working in these conditions, right? Like I keep looking at it and all due respect, we were told that there was abatement, but I'm hearing that might not be thorough or thorough enough, right? Like adequate is to your point, eye of the beholder, and that's something that is
So just as part of that, you have to solve the underlying problem.
correct.
The underlying problem is not solved.
Correct.
Therefore, it will happen again.
Correct. And so, yes, just because, yes, our buildings are old, rats are going to come in and poop and die and create families and colonies. I get that. I just want to be super clear that's the understanding, that you're going to have to knock it down is what I'm hearing. And I understand that a year ago, construction costs are just going to go up, especially as we support PLAs. It's just going to cost more, and that's okay. We just need to have that acknowledgement of what that is, right? So it's not going to stay the same. So the longer we wait, the more expensive it's going to be in terms of like, if we want to rebuild Clarendon, we don't want to rebuild, whatever it is, like if we move temporarily and rebuild, it's just going to cost more money. So there is a definite sense of urgency that I just don't want our staff to be working in these conditions. And I hope everybody understands that's where I'm coming from, right? It's just, I don't even have words. It's just disgusting.
So,
Right, so in the clarification, that the wing that has no one in it, there has been no abatement to it, right?
so the wing that has no one in it, that's where these pictures are coming from? Or are we saying that these pictures are above staff who are currently working?
I can't tell you that that exact picture is above staff, but that exact condition of disarray and in the roof of every building.
I can clarify that. The pictures are from that, that
Okay.
no one is then now. And also to clarify, part of that report, there was a recommendation to address the heating and air conditioning throughout the entire campus. Which that
Well, I won't waste a lot of your time. Thank you for your recommendation. A lot of the questions that I have are going to be towards staff. And clearly, you're not able to answer majority of those, and so I'm not going to put you on the spot for that. This was an information item, and thank you for the information.
Thank you.
All right, going on to next one, presentation of Measure Z, Citizen Bond Oversight Committee Annual Report. Monique.
Thank you. Our Measure Z Citizens Bond Oversight Committee members will be joining us for this presentation. Hello. Each year, our Citizens Bond Oversight Committee is required to provide a report from the committee on the Measure Z, on the particular bond that they're overseeing. And this evening, we have members from that committee to provide their report.
Good evening, Superintendent Hildreth and the rest of the board. My name is John Lindley. I'm here today with Jose Garcia and Ari Newman from the Citizens Board Oversight Committee for Measure Z. We earlier this year put together a report based on last year's physical spend. We also reviewed the audit report, and the simple finding of the report is that the Measure Z dollars are being used in accordance with the bond and what its bond's supposed to be used for. I guess a little background for those that are watching at home or may not know, when the bond was passed years ago, there's a requirement from the state of California to have a citizens board auditing or overseeing the bond, making sure that it's spent in accordance with how the citizens voted on it. And since the number of projects that is being done on Measure Z is honestly rather small, it's fairly straightforward to say that it has been spent accordingly. It's also been rather fun. We've been able to go see and visit Westfield on a number of occasions. We've been holding our meetings there for the past year-ish. So it's been neat to see the project go from original demolition to where it is now. And then there's ribbon cutting next week, or 2 weeks, if I remember correctly, excuse me. And also take this one shameless plug moment that if anyone's watching at home is interested in joining the board, we have term limits on the Measure Z committee. There are actually 2 of us, I think it's Jose and I, that are actually in our last term, and we will term out in 2 years. So we definitely need more people. It's about a 3 to 4 hour a quarter commitment. It's not overly large. So if anyone's interested, there's a website, go to this website, apply. Thank you. Any questions?
Are there any public comments? Are there any comments from our board?
Good job. You saw Kobe give you a thumbs up.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for serving. And every time you come up, hopefully whoever is looking on TV, that it's a really good and fruitful thing to be part of the oversight committee, right?
It is.
Yeah. And it's a party. You guys are good. You guys have a good time. So thank you for doing that.
Yes, thank you so very much for the time that it has taken. Want to make sure for your plug, you said 3 to 4 hours a quarter.
Correct.
And so people out there know where to go. It's the Washington Unified School District site.
Honestly, the easiest way to do it is just type in WSD CBOC, and it just takes you right to it.
There you
You'll see
go.
Z or V, but for Z.
All right.
And I just want to say, again, just like everybody else, thank you. John, you were on Measure V as well, weren't you?
Still am, actually.
Yeah, still are. So we do appreciate, the commitment that you've put into the district and overseeing our bonds. So I do appreciate that. What are the seats that are still needing to be filled?
Good question. We still need a senior citizens representation, and we still need a business organization or business that's located in West Sacramento.
West Sac?
So if there's a business,
No,
I'm
a
actually-
couple of them.
What's that? I know,
Since I know
we
a
had
couple.
one, we had a couple, but they unfortunately are no longer there. And we also need a taxpayer association representative.
Oh.
So those are the three that are currently open.
And you only have to belong to the senior citizen organization. So if you have an AARP card and not retired, you can actually participate.
Hey,
But you
hey.
should not be a board member and be a part of the oversight.
No, you can't. It's actually purely written in there. You can't be a.
I am an
employee.
AARP member, I'm just saying.
Well, if you ever retire, we could use your services.
In a few years.
Again, you don't have to be retired, just have the AARP card.
Well, I meant retire from the board.
Oh.
Sorry, yes.
Okay, that's good to know. So there's the retired, the tax. So would the tax person be like, does a tax person have to be in West Sacramento or just
To
anywhere?
my understanding, no. What's that? Just YOLO. So.
Just YOLO,
So,
okay.
on years past on Measure V, we actually had someone that was a member of the was it Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. So it doesn't have to. So I guess there's questions on whether or not that qualifies. But yeah, you just have to be a member of some organization. I know the district has reached out to, what do they call it again? The blanking on the name right now, of course. But have reached out to some YOLO County representatives to see if anyone's been interested in serving. But to my knowledge, unfortunately, no.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
You too. All right. Moving on to our consent agenda. Are there any questions, are there any public comments on consent? Are there any questions or comments from the board? All right, do I have a motion to approve?
I move.
I second.
Moved by trustee Wong, second by trustee Venegas. All in favor? Aye. And I too say aye. All right. Moving on to action items. Approval of employment of certificated employees with provisional permits. Ms. Shea.
Good evening, trustees, Dr. Hildreth, cabinet, staff. I'm here tonight to ask the board to acknowledge receipt and approval of employees with provisional permit, as this is a requirement of the CTC, the California Teaching Commission. HR was here on May 19th when they came with a declaration of need. This is something that we do annually to fill positions through interns, provisional intern permits, and sometimes we have some with general limited assignments.
All right, are there any public comments? Are there any comments from the board?
I second.
Moved by Vice President Pizzotti, second by trustee Venegas. And all in favor?
Aye.
And I too say aye.
Thank you.
And stay. Wait, no, don't stay. Goodbye. Approval of appointment, the Measure Z Citizen Bond Oversight Committee members. Sorry. I thought I had it. Miss Monique?
Moment, my technology decided not to cooperate with me.
I'm going to go ahead and say it's the
Okay.
building.
I think so. You know, the password changed. My apologies. So this evening, we are coming to you with a request for approval of the Measure Z Citizens Bond Oversight Committee members. As shared in the previous item, they have specific terms, and then they have to reapply for their terms. And two of our current members did reapply to be members of the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. They're actually here this evening. and that is John Lindley and Jose Garcia, and we request your approval to have them remain on the committee.
Are there any public comments? Are there any comments from the board?
Second.
All right, moved by Vice President Pizzotti, second by Trustee Wong. All in favor?
Aye.
I too say aye. All right, I'll say. Approval of renew of Extreme Networks subscription for the 2024-2025 school year. Ms. Monique.
Thank you. This is a renewal of a contract that we have every single year to be able to support our district's network, and we ask for your approval. Again, my apologies, my technology is not approving, it's not supporting me today. And so the fiscal impact of the Extreme Network subscription is $127,290.43 to be able to support our network. We ask for your approval.
Any public comments? Any comments from the board?
Move.
By second.
Moved by Trustee Venegas, second by Trustee Wong. All in favor?
Aye.
I too say aye. All right, approval of the, next item, approval of the amendment to the One Workplace contract for the Westfield Village Modernization Project, FF&E purchase. Ms. Monique, welcome.
Thank you. We are so excited that we will be reopening our Westfield Village School in just a few weeks. Just about a month ago, you approved a contract for furniture and supplies needed for that school to be able to support our students and staff. And we've identified that we do have a need for some specialized furniture, so we ask for your approval of an amendment to that agreement. The amendment cost is $74,841.59, bringing the total contract cost to $479,652.42, paid via the Measure Z fund.
Are there any public comments? Are there any comments from the board? Yes. Ask away.
There we go. Okay, so it's 74,000 for supplemental chairs and desks. We have the other stuff.
Yes.
That's it.
Okay, and then, I know this isn't about this piece, but we're almost done with the modernization, and I know everything is just about to be done, but there isn't a shade structure yet.
Correct.
I just want it to be put out there that there is one coming,
Yes.
just not there yet.
If, may I have an opportunity? Yes. Okay. May I have the opportunity to be able to publicly explain that
Yes,
particular
please,
situation?
that's kind of what I need to be done right now.
Thank you. This project has been moving on time and on budget, and we have been incredibly excited. And then we had a hiccup. The vendor sent us
The wrong.
particular shade structures, and it's the posting, the part that goes into the ground, that is incorrect. And as a result, we will not be able to open the school with those shade structures that go over the playground, the ones that were in the plans. We won't be able to open it. Right now, we have sent what we did receive to the Department of State Architect to get approval to be able to use that so that we can be able to install it for our students.
Thank you. I
You're
just wanted to
welcome.
make sure that was publicly said.
Absolutely.
Do you know when it will be able to be used?
I believe we're looking at November. I'm going to ask our
We can't
Director
hear
of
you.
Facilities to come up so you can be on the mic and it can be recorded.
Good evening. It really depends on DSA. We have what's called the CCD is the corrective in DSA right now. And it could be a week that they approve it. It could be 4 weeks. So right now we are in DSA with the CCD. We're just waiting for that response, right? And as soon as we get that response and then we plan it, because we have the structures, we have everything ready to go. Then we've had many discussions with the principal, so we can go as soon as. There are other shade structures on the site. These are just the ones that are going over the play structures.
Okay. And Dan, once DSA reviews things, is it an automatic reapproval or could they come back with questions that might delay
They
it?
could come back with questions. However, this one, It's very similar to what they call a PCA pre-check structure is. These ones that they sent us just don't happen to be those. So we've sent them all the calculations, we've sent them all the drawings, the shop drawings, everything. They may have some questions, but we will answer them quick.
Is the vendor by chance refunding us anything?
No, but they're also,
I like that. That was blunt enough.
no, I mean, we have no
That's good.
recourse to go after them for that. But we have been telling, what I've been saying is we have a lot more work coming, and it's not going to be with you with this response that you're giving us.
Well, okay. I think there's a little bit of recourse. I mean,
Weakest
you
link.
sent us the wrong stuff.
None.
There is a lot of back and forth about who ordered what and who approved it, and that in a time that I wasn't here. I hadn't even started with the district yet when this stuff was all back and forth. So there's a lot of that.
And I know that Dan, even now, is still having conversations with them, say, okay, what happened, and could there be recourse?
Yeah,
Could there be
could be.
something that we could follow through with?
Let's
But
just blame
for the
Daniel.
interest- There we go. But really, for the interest of time, we just made the decision, let's keep what we have, let's pivot
Gotcha.
so that we can be
Okay.
able to finish this project for our students.
Thank you.
All right.
I appreciate that. I have no more comments.
I move.
I second.
All right, moved by trustee Wong, second by trustee Venegas. All in favor?
Aye.
I too say aye.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. And now approval of renewal of transport services with CTC Triad Inc., DBA Silver Lining Transportation District-wide for the 2024-2025 Autry, Miss Autry, Autry Street. My gosh, it's been a very long week. Austreak. No, it's Autry.
Good evening. I come to you today seeking approval for the renewal of our contract with Silver Lining Transport. The fiscal impact is up to $320,000. This is a contract to provide access to a free and appropriate education for up to 5 students who have this particular request or need in their individual educational plans. And these are students who attend non-public schools that do not provide transportation to schools in particular. And again, this is a long-term, long-standing partnership, and this is for the 24-25 school year.
All right, are there any public comments? Comments from the board?
Yeah, I've got a couple of them. It says approximately 320 from the appropriate funding source.
It's general fund, sorry about that.
That's one question. And then if it's 5 students by 320,000.
It's 10 students.
10?
Yes,
I thought it
it's-
said 5.
So currently, we have 5 students, current students needing the service, but again, students come and go. So the 320,000 provides space for students who may be identified needing this service throughout the school year. So I can give you an example that might make that clearer. Last year, our contract was $220,000, and at the end of the year, we spent roughly $150,000. So we left some buffer. We're doing the same thing this year, just in case other students need this support as a support in their IEPs.
So it's
Okay.
more up to 300.
Up to
I get-
320,000.
yeah, I think I get that. That brings a couple other questions now into play. Was there a competitive bidding process for this?
So every year, our special services department, they research, are we getting the best deal? And this is a partner that they've used for 10 years. This particular company has not raised their prices in the last 2 years. There was some talk of switching to a different vendor some years ago. because their rates were lower, but they weren't able to find enough students, the company wasn't, to create a route that our students needed. If they created a route just for our students, it would have been back to the same rate that we're paying this particular vendor.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at the contract and then I looked at how much it is and where the actual school is. And it's literally downtown Sacramento. It's not like it's way out in Folsom or something of that nature. And it seemed, and I'm not an expert in this, I'm certainly not. It just seemed excessive. You know, that's why I'm kind of looking at some of these contracts when they're general fund dollars and we're looking at budget stabilization. This is special needs, and this is something that, you know, I truly support transportation for our kids with IEPs. The question is, you know, is this the most affordable program for the right amount of kids that we're, you know, that we're trying to identify? Because it sounds like, are we saying we only pay for 5 if we only use 5?
Yes.
Okay. So then we cut that in half, right?
Yes.
Okay. So then it's 5 for half of that. And then it's still the dollar amount is pretty high per pupil.
It, if we do the math, it's roughly $200 per day, per
right.
student, times a little less than 180 days of the school year. And that's the best rate that we've been able to secure at this point.
Okay. I mean, that just seems very, very expensive for a very, very short amount of travel.
And just here, another, I want to piggyback off of that just a little bit. And just to make clear, this isn't, we're saying that we can't offer any within our own district. We don't have a bus, we don't have a van, we don't have anything that could do this within our own fleet.
Thank you for the question. So again, this contract is for students who do not receive, whose needs we cannot provide for
Right.
in the programs that we offer in our district.
Right.
So they are attending non-public schools. Those 2 particular non-public schools do not provide transportation. Some do, but these particular schools that offer the services these students need don't provide transportation. And in order for them, the students, to access, as it is their right, free and appropriate education, we have an obligation to provide them with transportation.
Right.
And that's who this company provides services to.
And I hear that, 100% agree. My question was, we, Washington Unified School District, do not have the capability to provide that service within our own classified staff and buses and vans or whatever. Like, we can't do it, right?
So the answer to that question is no, we cannot.
Yeah, so the wondering
Yes.
is, non-public school, I think, to educate the public, is the most restrictive environment with students with high specialized needs, right? And so I'm also looking at the audience. I'm just verifying what I understand, and there is in the audience that's a specialty that we don't provide here, and it would require a lot from our staff. I'm seeing nod heads. Sorry, it's just the special education. It's free and appropriate transportation. Seems like a lot, but it's such a specialized population, the most restricted environment. So you can think about what type of student needs need to be addressed on the bus ride there and back.
And I would just, to your question, President Coffey, I will ask Ms. Stovall to verify. I don't think that our transportation is able to do that. I know we're making sure that we have the drivers to cover the routes that we have for our current students, but I cannot say
Yeah, I just didn't know if
Yes or
that was
no for
something.
sure, but I can ask staff to look into that. And it looks like Carrie Pena might be able to give us an answer right here or clarify some info for us. Thank you.
You can bring it up.
problem. Yes, Angelina Valencia, the transportation for the supervisor, is involved in the IEPs for students with medically fragile needs. So she is able to identify whether or not we can accommodate them or not. We do our best to accommodate them, but these are medically fragile students that do require special handling that we do not have the expertise in.
Okay, thank you.
So effectively like a paratransit bus, right? That has the same capabilities.
Yes.
Any other questions?
I move.
I second.
Moved by trustee Venegas, second by trustee Wong. All in favor?
Aye.
I too say aye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I believe the next item is mine as well, and it is request for approval of an agreement between WUSD and Greenlight Get Outside, a program that we've been partnered with for some time now that provides services to students at 2 of our campuses, our Evergreen Opportunity Campus as well as students at Riverbank. And the fiscal impact is $156,000 for the 24-25 school year.
Are there any public comments? Are there any questions from the board? Because I know I have.
I got one too.
Yes.
Have we developed like a matrix to see the, basically accountability of this program? Like, is it being developed or is it being utilized in a way in which we're seeing, students, profit, not profit, but benefit from this? And if so, what are we looking?
So, yes, the answer to your question is we have some qualitative data to support the continued partnership with this particular vendor. At the end of every school year, and really mid-year as well, we get input from our principals, the principals who host the program at their sites, to find out if our students are truly benefiting from the services that we're paying for. And if it's not working well at a site, then we wouldn't have the program come back to a site. But for next year, both Riverbank and our YOLO principal feel strongly that our students are benefiting from the partnership between our classroom teachers and the counselors that this program provides, and of course, the outdoor experience that the kids benefit from participating in as well. It really is an emphasis on social emotional learning as a way to improve academic outcomes. So right at this moment, mostly the data that we have is qualitative, not quantitative.
Can I add, I was honored to be invited to they leverage dollars from Yokedihi to actually have this program here. So it is actually leveraged with other monies that come in. And they do have some data, both qualitative and some data that you can pull. They also are bringing interns, so social work and psychological, so they're leveraging, it's not just 1 or 2 people, it's actually a whole team of folks that's being brought in by 152, this allocation. And the stories are just phenomenal. I know they're qualitative, but the stories from the kids that I've talked to at both Riverbank and YOLO, that they actually really are really excited about it. They've turned corners, and so it's not numbers, but they've actually really been impacted by the whole program.
Well, and I guess that was kind of my point to this, because it seems like this is it's a tough program to get data on to do a matrix. So I was wondering, what is our tool that we use to measure how effectively is this working? And especially when it's $156,000, it's a lot of dollars. Whether it's leveraged or not, it's a good chunk, right? So I wanted to know if there is something that we're using to guide us as we make decisions, and what are those things? And maybe in the future, you could share that with the board so we can see.
Yeah.
Right?
maybe a presentation from Greenlight Go. I do know that they have the data. I'm sure Jason would be happy to do the same presentation that he presented to Yokadiki.
We're
Oh, I'm assuming,
definitely
sorry.
happy to share our student experiences and data, especially at our Opportunity Academy. The program was really instrumental for our students who are in that program this past year. And the same at Riverbank, so much so that we're increasing one section of Greenlight Get Out at that school because there's such a need, and the kids have really been benefiting from it. But we will be sure to share more concrete data with the board for this upcoming school year.
Can I also add that from my understanding, also teachers staff were actually also impressed with this and wanting the program to come back. So that's another data point, if helpful to you. So the kids, but also the staff in the school community.
Yeah, the program can't exist without teacher collaboration and teacher buy-in. That's kind of how it works. There's a collaboration between Greenlight Get Out staff as well as WUSD teachers. So we have to have a teacher who's on board to support the program.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm going to support it. I just want to know if there's matrix involved.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. Well, it's actually, you guys all not answered it, but my question was, would it be possible to get some like data showing what it is that it is for those of us who don't have the opportunity or can't go and visit? Because it sounds like it is making an impact, and so we would like to see that positive, here as well. That was it. That was my one and only.
Yes, we can do that.
Thank you.
You're
All
welcome.
right, and so on that,
I move.
Second.
we move by trustee Wong, second by Vice President Pizzotti, and all in favor?
Aye.
I too say aye. All right, and next one, approval of Washington Unified School District's arts and music in school reports for 2023-2024. Ms. Street.
Thank you. So in the 23-24 school year, Washington Unified School District as well as Washington Middle College were recipients of Prop 28 funding to increase student access to arts and music during the school day. And so as part of our requirements in receiving those funds, we have to provide the CDE with the report. It's a pretty simple report with 3 questions, basically. How many full-time equivalent employees did we purchase to provide additional arts to our students in that year, as well as how many students were served using those funds for the arts, and then the number of school sites providing arts education as a result of Prop 28 funds. And so you have the attachments, which are the report that we need to submit to the CDE, and we're asking for approval before we submit to the CDE. We didn't receive the funds until February, and so no additional personnel were hired last year, but we have positions that are posted and that we're recruiting for the 24-25 school year.
All right. Are there any public comments? Or any comments from the board?
Move.
Second. Moved by trustee Venegas, second by trustee Wong. All those in favor?
Aye.
You say aye.
Thank you.
Welcome. And now, board governance. Approval of the Washington Unified School District Board Governance Calendar for 2024-2025. Dr. Hildreth.
Thank you, President Coffey. We have listed for board approval our governance calendar that we have every year that really helps us determine what are those items that we discuss in areas of board governance, such as setting direction, policy, resolutions, instruction, just making sure that we're mapping out, doing a roadmap of the year of topics that we know are of highest importance for the board. The only difference in the look of the template is we've just revised it for easier reading. It's normally been on, like a 8.5 by 14 paper, very small. So just for the board to be able to track, to make sure that we are following the areas that we want to support, looking at those recommendations from CSBA, and then, of course, adding topics based on future board agendas and items that we know would be useful for the board and the public to hear about. So with that, I'm asking for approval of the governance calendar for the 2024-25 school year.
Are there any public comments? Are there any comments from the board?
I move.
Okay, so moved by Vice President Pizzotti, and I think seconded by Trustee Venegas. So all in favor?
Aye.
I do say aye. Thank you. And approval of Washington Unified School District's annual resolution for the 2024-2025 school year. Yorgos.
I would do a cartwheel, but
It's the season.
it is the season. Tell that to my 4-year-old. So.
Right.
All right, this item, as you're all well aware, is an annual item that we bring to you in the month of July before we get started with the upcoming school year each year. Essentially attached to this board item are 30 board resolutions acknowledging your support for a variety of observances throughout the school year, everything from National Hispanic Heritage Month to Martin Luther King Jr. Day. They're all divided out by various months and weeks throughout the year, including employee celebrations. The reason we bring these to you today is because we like to front load them so that we can share them with staff before the school year starts so everyone can plan accordingly. Each month throughout the school year, Communications Office will also put forth notifications each month in a timely order for everyone to also be aware of and celebrate those events and observances in real time.
All right. Are there any public comment? Are there any comments from the board?
Is there a communications director day?
There can be. I'll have to amend that, the resolutions.
That's today?
Today?
There actually is one. It's in May, I believe.
Oh, we should
But
think
it's
about
not
that.
part of this attachment.
We should consider that, actually, honestly.
Okay. Since there are no comments, additional
move.
comments? All right, moved by Trustee
Second.
Wong, seconded by Vice President Pizzotti. All those in favor?
Aye.
You say aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and now on to our board superintendent comments. Dr. Hildreth.
Thank you. So I want to officially welcome everyone to the 2024-25 school year. We are very much in planning and preparing gear. We're winding down on our wonderful summer ELOP program. So to Ms. Tran, Ms. Douglas, who did a wonderful summer program for our English language learners, for our students in the special education program. It was wonderful, able to see students at the end and very proud of the work that they did. And we have had a summer of Olympic-themed events in our ELOP program. So we want to thank our director, Martina Guerra, and Ryan Carroll for all of the work that they have done this summer. The last day, I think, is tomorrow. So some fabulous events have been happening. I think we have some board members who will talk about an American Ninja Warrior obstacle course experience and opportunity. And thank you for those of you who were able to support our National Social Action Impact Day for our Freedom Schools program sponsored by the Children's Defense Fund. I'm speechless on how positive an experience that was for not only our students, but to see so many students from the Sacramento region being able to engage in empowerment. That really was what it was about The topic was why reading, that's what Freedom School is about, the importance and for the love of reading, and the Social Impact Day was about giving kids the language to understand why they don't want books to be banned. And that was really the topic. So talking about making civic leaders starting at a young age was wonderful, and so thankful for our partnership with the Roberts Family Development Center, and Mr. Roberts and his team have been wonderful, and we're looking to continue Freedom Schools as an after-school program, looking into that. So I'm so glad that people have had some time to unwind, but I knew that coming into the district office on Monday, I said, we're back because the parking lot is full again. And that means staff is here, ready to plan. Our school leaders are at the school. And I know that we have classified staff who have never stopped working for our kids and making sure that schools are ready, not only on the inside, but also on the outside. So all of our spaces are welcoming places for students and their families, because we know that welcoming image starts when you walk in the door and the way that you are greeted and treated. So thank you to our classified staff. Thank you to our teachers who volunteered somewhat to work during the summer, because our kids have intervention, and we know that our staff needs a break and they have options. And they said, I love my students, and I'm willing and excited about really working in the summer, because the progress that you're able to see with that small targeted group of students has been wonderful. And we want to continue to provide opportunities for our students, but we also want to make sure that we're providing opportunities for our staff to let us know what we can do even better to make our summer programs what our students need. So thank you to all of our teachers who gave their time and participated. And thank you to our leaders who were also heading these programs and making sure that materials, everybody had what they needed, and that supervision was what it needed to be during the summer in 100-degree weather for many days at a time. So just excited about what's to come. Looking forward to continuing collaboration that is, and relationships that are so important in everything we do, every part of our community. And we will have students in 3 weeks. So that is definitely top of mind. And that's it for me.
Thank you very much. Trustee Venegas.
All right. Yeah, it's been a cold summer in Sacramento. It's like a little chilly out there. No, yeah, just thank you to the staff that's been serving throughout the summer, stepping in, stepping up. And you know, I've had the opportunity to do a few summer camps throughout the state, and just in having conversation with middle school and high school students, they feel when we put students first. When we put students first, they put themselves first, and their voice is different. Their level of understanding, their behavior, the behavior changes when they feel that they are first. And thank you to President Gandara for just bringing it back to just the focus. When we're putting students first, when we're putting our staff and the health and safety, I think that's just going to be a theme personally, to just keep that reminder, because ultimately we've got us, right? It's our people, and it's our kids, and it's our families who are doing the work, and we're here for each other. So yeah, just keeping that short. I think that, yeah, the kids start in about 3 weeks. So I know I know everybody's really excited and happy to see all those students running at you. Just looking forward to another beautiful year. And another piece of conversation that I did have was just the impacts that an election year has on students and families, stress, anxiety. The students may not know how to verbalize it or communicate it, but they see adults change around them. They see the behavior patterns change around them. So just not that we can do anything about it or control it, but just what's on television, what's it being said in the media, and just how that trickles down to the most vulnerable. So just something that I had, I was in a meeting today, and just something that was brought up. So wanted to go ahead and share that. And stay grounded, stay smiling, and stay healthy. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Trustee Wong.
No, wonderful summer programming. Thank you to our staff. I mean, I saw both the tiredness, but also the joy that you do your work with. What Superintendent Hildreth was talking about is that Clerk Kirby Gonzalez and I got to do the American Ninja Warrior. I have shoulder and arthritis issues, so I looked at it, I was like, where is Al? I want to see him do this. And so, but it really was good to see all the kids, all the staff kind of do a lot of bonding. We had just a lot of fun. It was open to district staff. I'm not sure if I didn't see everybody there. No, I see a no. Didn't happen. Didn't see others. So, yes. So, yes, it's hard to carry this weight too on. So, I did run and jump and do a number of things, but I know that Trustee Venegas knows that there's physical fitness, and it just brings joy, right? The endorphins, just the teamwork, and just watching the kids cheer each other on and not. And there was an American Ninja Warrior there, but also I had a lot of FOMO, fear of missing out, or missing the summer culmination of the programs. And our arts program, I was able to actually see the culmination of our arts programming. And on that note, I wanted to mention that I'll bring this up again in the future agenda items, is Christopher Hanks will never ask, but he has applied for the California Commission on Arts, and I would like for us to consider sending a letter on his behalf to the governor for the appointment consideration when one opens up. So, because he's just done such a fabulous job for us. And I know he's too humble to mention that, but his name is in the queue as part of a governor, a consideration of the governor appointed for the California Art Commission. So when the board is ready to take that future agenda item, I would love to propose that. So, and excited about the new school year, but again, really, really grateful for staff who's, spent their summers, bringing joy to our kids and whatnot. So I look around in our region, and we have such a comprehensive summer program, and that doesn't happen without classified, doesn't happen without certificate, doesn't happen without district staff in rat-infested buildings. Just joking, not. But really, it's a team. I don't ever want us to think that it's separate, and that it's the heartbeat. I know that we were all working in these conditions in 104-degree, 106-degree heat for our kids, and that is something we need to acknowledge. I think that we talked about that at Freedom Centers, like, oh my gosh, but it was so joyful to be in that space with Freedom Centers and reading to the kids on Monday after things had been announced, and just so moving. And what stuck with me from staff, they had mentioned this, is that this is the first year that they didn't see in this Freedom Schools program that students wanted to come back. They didn't drop out. They were actually engaged, right? And some of them were more deeply engaged. And so it was an interesting, because it's summertime for them too. And some of them get disengaged, and it's a lot of our programs, but it says something when you don't have to drag a kid into these programs, right? And so I think that's when we were talking about earlier with our other supplemental programs, we have to be looking at that. Does the qualitative, how do you capture that of those who are participating. That brings value to a school community. And I just kind of want GOODMORNING. Good morning. Good morning. So, good morning. Watch a video. We will post a video soon if you have not seen the one that we posted earlier. But again, we should start every meeting with joy and and gratitude. So now I'm done.
Vice President Pizzotti.
Sure. Okay. So I just wanted to comment on some comments that we heard from CSEA and WSTA. And I want to say that I agree that a committee for the budget stabilization should be inclusive of WSTA and CSEA. They are our partners in this. And so I do believe that we should have their input, their feedback. If we all take haircuts in this time, we should be looking at what hairs should we cutting. But yeah, so I mean, they're also, key in kind of developing a plan. So I would say that would be a good idea. And then the idea, that Doug brought up, the enrollment projections. I understand why we project, we project low just to be safe. And I get that. And I totally agree with that. That's smart budgeting, right? We have to protect ourselves against, going over budget and then being in a position where we can't, make ends meet and have to do some emergency stabilization instead of, doing forward-thinking stabilization. So I think triggers is an interesting idea. I think it warrants more investigation. It's not something that we could do right away, in my opinion, but it's something to consider. We do have a lot of development, and I'm seeing, apartment building after condo and townhome being developed, which is quite a bit, right? And we have plans for the next 10 years to develop the waterfront, and then the other, the Liberty project. So there's lots of areas in which we're looking at having more development. I think we need to figure out what our numbers are going to be. And I think it's based on the average 3 years that we do in our enrollment. Is that what it is? Or is that ADA? I think that's ADA. But I know we have a demographer, and we're going to have to start looking at boundaries too, because based on where our development is, right? And where it's been. So this is a conversation that we're going to have, and it's going to be a hard one. That's the one that no community wants to have. So those are good comments that I heard. I also wanted to say that I believe healthcare is an absolute right, and it shouldn't be out of reach out of any one of our employees, and right now it is. And so I want us to make sure that we prioritize that. Both parties, that means you, the teachers and CSEA, as well as the district, prioritize that. And sometimes that means making tough decisions on whether we give lower raises in lieu of, but it's something that our employees need to have, is health, and making it responsible. That's a responsible thing to do. I wanted to make kind of an announcement and a shout out in case anybody doesn't know. WSTA member Jenny Jackson Garcia will be making a presentation at the next Rotary Club meeting tomorrow at Jackrabbit Brewing Company. Former trustee Katie Villegas is the president of the Rotary Club, and she invited Ms. Garcia to give her presentation on the solar panel projects that she does in her 7th grade class. So I will be there. Anybody who wants to go, please let us know. We can make sure that we have enough room for you. Also, just this last weekend, City Council member Karina Orozco did a school supply drive where I know a number of us trustees probably raided the Dollar Tree and Target and, came up with a lot of school supplies for kids in our community. But what was also notable was how many school supplies were actually delivered and backpacks were delivered. Basically, our community came together and really, and it's every year she does this. She is an amazing force of nature. And I just want to say thank you to her for what she has done in terms of producing, supplies and backpacks and everything for our kids. And it's not just that, it's West Sac Girls Give Back that she does as well. So I just want to say I thank her tremendously for coordinating and putting this all. And with that, that's all I have.
All right, thank you very much. So just as you had said, Toby, the budget stabilizing plan, I also agree that you guys need to be at the table. And that is going to be a request that it gets done. Okay? Because if they're not there and they're the ones that are going to be affected, we just need to have them at the table so they can speak. As also agree, the Patwin people, let's do something. Let's have something. I mean, I think it's really important that we recognize those who have been here before us. I mean, we should we recognize and acknowledge our own history, so we should be recognizing those of people of the land. So, and I also agree with the out-of-state training. If they're going to go out of state and they're going to receive a training, they should be sharing that. We are not silos. We are not, let's go on it can appear you're going on a vacation. I mean, I don't know what you did. Did you really go to that conference? Did you really go to that session? Or were you doing something? You also need to be held accountable if you're going and doing something. So please be prepared to present when you're out, whether it's at a meeting at your school site where you're sharing what you've learned, or at the professional development meetings with everybody. And if you're so passionate about what you're doing, it shouldn't be a problem when you share it at the public or your professional development. Like, you are so about this, I want to see that fire lit under everybody then. That's just my say. There is going to be a ribbon cutting for Westfield. That date has been set. I'm so excited. I will be there, so expect me to be there. I'm still waiting for the ribbon cutting for the YOLO ball hand wall. YOLO ball hand wall, I'm still gonna keep doing it. I'm gonna be asking. I'm gonna be oh so positive about it. So just so y'all know. There's a chance of that too.
Yeah.
All right. School is starting soon, but I'm not gonna say it is until I see my kid's schedule. So school is not yet started because there is no schedule. So do not put that on me yet. So district building, got a lot of discussion. There's been a lot going on for a really long time. Yes, the recommendation that there needs to be a decision made soon is clear. We do need to make a decision. We also need to know where it is we're going. I personally will let y'all know, I'm not for a move to River Point. So with that being said, give me some other options. And if you don't like it, I'm sorry, but that's just where I'm at. I'm fiscally looking at it at a financial point, and I'm not for it. So give me something better than a 10-year lease, a 3-year lease. I know I'm just one, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. And lastly, the Olympics begin tomorrow.
Yay.
And if you like it, I've been watching him every 2 years, every 4 years, depending on the season. And right now, I think it's a time of where we all just need to come together and represent our country and just be thankful and watch Simone Biles and everybody else do their thing as they do it. And we do have some local Californians that are going. So I think that's really important. I will not be here on August 8th, so just letting you all know. And with that being said, we'll go ahead.
Got one more.
One more?
Yeah. Quickly, I would like to make sure that we get an invitation out to the Rotary Club for Westfield ribbon cutting. They adopted Westfield and have been providing supplies, barbecues, doing food, just volunteering their time and energy. So let's invite if we can, and they will turn out. Okay.
I have one more announcement before we move forward, or just a statement, because I realized that before our next meeting, we're going to have our partnership with Westack PD for National Night Out and community schools. And so we're doing things a little different this year, working with our Westack PD partners. We're having a district block party as well as the block parties around the community, and it's going to be a great time to just join the community. We're going to have it at River City High School. That's where our block party portion will be. We're going to have free haircuts, food, there will be an immunization clinic, there will be games, community vendors, and so much more. So we've been putting information out, so we will still be able, as the board, to go around to the block parties, and then we'll also be able to go to River City. We will have transportation for families who want to go to their block parties and still be able to get to River City. So just want to thank June Flores and Dr. Jay Burns for really leaning into the community part of this effort, and we're really looking forward to adding Washington Unified as a true part of National Night Out. So again, Tuesday, August 6th, we'll be on the River City High School football field from 5 to 9 p.m. Yeah, so we still plan to do all of that. We're just adding our own district as a stop for the block party.
August 8th, I have a required training for my day job, so I also won't be here, which means the three need to be here. So I'm just making that announcement out again. Required training for my day job, so professional development that I will bring back to my organization, and make sure that my staff understand what that is. So just wanted to announce that. So there's the three.
Okay. All right. Future board agenda items. We have the next regular board meeting, which is scheduled for August 8th. 2 out of 5 will not be present. Washington Unified School District cellular, OMG, phone policy, August of 2024. School resource officers, RSOs, discussion, August 2024. And you also wanted to add?
I would like to add a letter to the governor supporting, and again, we'll talk about it, Christopher Hanks to the California Arts Commission.
All right.
Happy to work on a draft and letter.
Sounds great. And then letter to support Mr. Hanks. All right, on that note, we have concluded this meeting. Goodbye.